Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us while we break balls and try to outwit each other at every turn while debating all things nerdom and trying to make sense of this world. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this is a Herculean task and I'm not sure we have enough brain power to do so. At the very least, we can laugh and offend each other through the process. Thanks for sharing your day with us. Now on to our show. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is October 9th, 2020. This is Raiderlance and
IceyEyedGnome.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, except it's 2022.
What did I say, 2023?
You said 2020.
All right,
we're 2 years in the past.
Should we just edit that out and start again, or should we just allow everybody?
I think we should just keep going with it.
All right. Well, I had something prepared to say to you, but now I'm going to come clean and be honest with everybody else. So let's do you first because I'm a giver.
Okay.
And then we'll get back to me. So today, God damn it. Okay. So this time around on this recording on this Sunday, we are going to cover She-Hulk episodes 7 and 8. And then we're going to do a couple of rapid fires. So please check the show notes just so we can keep this organized, make it a little bit easier. And I had somebody ask us, a friend, well, you guys are kind of experimenting with shorter duration episodes. What was the influence? And I told him, well, it was actually IEG's idea. He thought that maybe doing these rapid fire episodes would be better because he's typically better at short duration activities. So, you know, he's better at it on the podcast. He's better at it with his mic. You know what I'm saying? So I guess he's had some type of success with that. And I want him to be comfortable and stay in his limitations. So thank you for the idea, brother.
It's not a problem. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell my wife. It's a race and I'm in it to win it.
I'm not comfortable being in the same circle of the Venn diagram with that statement. I'm just letting you know right off the bat. All right. Now me. If you guys haven't figured out I'm a moron, I've been tasked with the duties of doing the audio editing, and I'm starting to not like myself and want me off the show as a listener. The amount of words I have gotten wrong, the amount of facts I've likely gotten wrong, just too lazy to go and fact check myself. I think I was telling IEG the other day that I said something was undefendable. No, undefensible. And immediately IEG is like, yeah, that's not a word, bro. That's the wrong prefix. And I was like, oh my God. Here's the problem with my brain. It was smart enough to listen, pay attention, and catch these words and kind of know what they mean. But it's not like I have ready access. I'm like looking through a foggy shower door. Does that make sense? I kind of know somebody's over there, but I know exactly. It's like the worst of both worlds. It's like being smart enough to catch your wife in a lie or a manipulation or some type of movida that she's pulling, but you're not smart enough to fix it. Like, it's just, I would rather just almost at this point not see it. So,
well, they do say ignorance is bliss. So,
yeah.
Be happier if you didn't know.
Put me up in a mountain and strip me of the internet, and I might be happy again. All right. Well, with that depressing news, and you know what? I think I actually told IEG something to this with regards to our wives, or at least my wife specifically. I said, "Who's the bigger moron? The moron?" Or the person who married the moron and had babies to make mini morons. So you guys are listening to me. So what does that say about you? Did you give me any flack? I think I pissed on everybody within 2 minutes, 4 minutes. I did mission accomplished.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody hates you now. So
yeah. Well,
you're good.
You know what that means? You can share this and you can leave a comment because you people aren't doing that. And I'm going to remind you every damn day until you start doing it. So, all right.
Oh, please, God, leave Raider some comments. Just remember who didn't crap on you during this episode.
Do you remember the old show of Tim Allen? What was that? Home Improvement?
Oh, yeah.
Where the dude with the beard, the straight man in his show, every time Tim Allen would say something stupid, his buddy sidekick would hold up the sign, please direct all emails to @Tim Allen or whatever his name was. Basically, like, I'm not part of this.
Yeah, Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you one of those signs where you can just like flick it on and off in your background. Like, this was Raiderlance. I do not agree with opinions shared by this podcast or Raiderlance. I'll make you the legal disclaimer. All right.
So I'm Al in this duo.
Yes. You need to grow your beard. What is it? Your lumberjack flannel.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
People, we are going to use this for a longer episode. We'll do the rapid fires after for She-Hulk episode 7 and 8. IEG, take us through the events of the episode, please.
All right. So we've already covered the first 6 episodes, and we had talked about waiting until episode 7, 8, and 9 all released. However, after I saw episode 8, I was like, we have to cover this now because this is gold. You know, episode 8 was probably like the best episode thus far of She-Hulk, and it's probably one of my favorite episodes of any of the Marvel TV series they've come out with so far.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So,
well, why?
Let me see. Well, we had a lot of reveals in episode 8. Let's cover episode 7 first.
Sure.
And then we'll get into episode 8 of She-Hulk.
Okay. What I'd like to bring out is I'm very proud of how Jen has grown and matured, especially with her dating. She actually waited for 2 taco trucks and a movie to put out this time. And that shows a lot of growth on her part. Jen, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Get to know somebody, for Christ's sake, if you want to build something that has importance. Yeah, I get he came off as the nice guy. Clearly, you were right. He was part of it. Why don't you run us through how he did her dirty in the like ghosting her aspect?
Okay, so she wakes up the next morning, you know, after the events of finally breaking down, and he's gone, right? So then she's like trying to go through that awkward phase of like, do I message him now? Do I wait? Like, what do I say? Yeah, we've all been there. You know what I mean? Like,
that was rough to watch. I felt bad for the character.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like it's a very awkward phase because she didn't want to scare the guy off, and she didn't want to, you know, put any kind of strain or unnecessary strain on that relationship or potential relationship. However, that guy was like dirty, and we didn't know exactly how he was going to be dirty, but you know, like I suspected very early on that he worked for, you know, another person who was trying to get some information and that kind of stuff about Jennifer. And then it was right. But in episode 7, she spends a lot of time at Tim Roth or Abomination's like hideout, right?
Right.
She goes there. She gets pulled in by essentially his parole officer, asked for some help from her. And then they go out there just to kind of see if, you know, he's been changing into the Abomination, if he's doing anything wrong and that kind of stuff. And she ends up having a conversation with him in like a group therapy session format. It was really cool to like see someone talk about the character because you got a lot of different aspects. You went from, here is my client, you know, as a lawyer, here's my client, you know, I've been asked by the parole officer to come help because I'm also a Hulk, right? So there's ulterior motive beyond the lawyer aspect, but then you get to see like an in-depth breakdown of the character, how she's feeling, how she's dealing with certain things and that kind of stuff. And you usually don't get that much backstory about a character or go that far in depth in a typical superhero show. You know what I mean? Like, unless it's like one of those shows.
Spider-Man 2, maybe Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, where he's having the heart-to-heart with his ex-girlfriend. But you usually don't see the pain that being a superhero brings to their alter ego or normal life.
Yeah. I mean, you see a lot of that in a lot of DC shows where they have like 7 seasons and that kind of stuff. You get like more in depth, but
I see what you're saying.
For something that's running 9 episodes, you know what I mean? Like it should be like action packed and that kind of stuff most of the time. So episode 7 really felt like a break from a lot of the action and that kind of stuff. Obviously there were bits of comedy, you got some introduction to new characters, but it kind of set itself apart from the rest of the series, you know, thus far in how it acted that way. So
question for you from your perspective. Do you think that they were using satire or poking fun of group therapy? Or do you think they were showing the benefits of group therapy in a comedic way?
I think it was a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Like, I think they clearly played on the idea that group therapy is like can be ridiculous and that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
they definitely used it to like catapult some of those emotions and like bring in some of
Yeah.
those old characters. Like the guy who attacked her
Yeah.
is now like giving her advice, you know what I mean? And helping her through something. And
So interesting for me. I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. Of course, I didn't check. I saw him. I immediately went, I know you, I don't like you. Is it correct that that is the same actor who took a machete to the head by Rick Grimes in Walking Dead, season 3, episode 2, while they're clearing out the prison?
he did?
I think it was. I don't forget a face like that. Yep. I think his name was Tomas. He was the leader with the handgun. When they broke into the prison, they found those prisoners there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, he's significantly older and nicer in this episode. But yeah, I was like, I don't like him. No, I don't trust him. He's gonna do something wrong to you again. I couldn't get over it until I figured out that's who he was. And I'm like, okay, that's just the role he played, you idiot. That's not him. So
yeah, I had no idea. I didn't make that connection.
As for the group therapy, I took it more as in poking fun at it for the first half.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit too much comedy in it. And then I think at the second half when, I'm going to call him Tomas now, so screw him. He's not Crowbar guy, he's Tomas. When he came in and he started making it a little bit more real, I started taking it a little bit more seriously. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this is actually going to be beneficial. They're saying legitimate things. They're not just using these catchphrases like codependency just to sound official. The one part I saw, which was funny to me, as somebody who's Hispanic, specifically Mexican, when the Spaniard or the matador
He's not
was
a matador.
talking to Jennifer. He's a matador. I'm not getting out of my brain. Sorry, nickname stuck.
He's a swashbuckler.
He called her Hennifer, not Jennifer, because that's the English way to pronounce Hennifer. Now, growing up, the Jennifers I knew were called Yennifers. Sounds with the Y. And so I'm sure by him being Spanish or Castilian or whatever he was, it comes out with the H or H for our British listeners. So it was Hennifer. That's fine. I didn't get thrown off the accent. What I did get thrown off was in the closed caption, it's spelling her Hennifer. So they didn't know that was an accent. They just typed it out phonetically. So I kind of lost it. For like 30, 40 seconds after that. I had it reset and I'm like, okay, what are they actually saying? I got to take notes on this. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode because it was light, it was funny, it was emotional. I felt like it recentered the episode, and we'll find out why they recentered her, because they're going to demolish her next episode. Anything else about episode 7 you wanted to highlight?
I think it was just like, the piece, whatever that she found, and like letting that person go. Clearly they weren't going to be right for her and that kind of stuff. The relationship, it wasn't for her. And so like, I think that like closure that she got from Abomination, who 12 some odd, years ago or more at this point, like tried to kill her cousin Bruce and like destroy the city. And like, it was just like so weird to see how one character had changed so much over a period of time. And obviously we saw that like earlier in the season of She-Hulk, but this was just kind of like confirmation that like this guy's actually changed. Like he's completely different than the other character. It wasn't just a show, like put on.
Yeah, I was completely skeptical. I was skeptical of Abomination. I was skeptical of Tomas. I kept on thinking all these guys are going to turn on her, like the way I should have thought about Josh, the guy from Intelligentsia. I expect that of everybody now.
Yeah, what I was going to say is like, yeah, that's accurate. Like the good people, or the people that you think are going to be good, like are the bad ones, and the bad ones are the people that you think are going to be bad, have been predominantly good. So it's really weird to see that kind of switch. It
was nice for once to go longer than 2 minutes without man bashing. She was surrounded by 5 good dudes, right? 6 good dudes, 2 of them reformed. they turned into good guys, and they had nothing but the best for interest. They had nothing but her interest at heart and what was best for her. So it was nice and refreshing to see where I didn't think this was about it being woke or not woke. I thought it was just people being human and nice to each other. And I thought that was awesome. There was little tension in this episode.
Yeah.
Lastly, Josh is a stud.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to tell you why. She didn't wake up when he snuck out. I'm just saying. We're probably going to have to cut that. That's okay. God. I wanted to make that joke. Okay, I'll cut that for sure.
I think you should just leave it.
All right. Let's try to get back on track.
All right. So we're going to be moving on to episode 8, which is like a severe tempo change versus episode 7.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of reveals that a lot of people have been waiting all season to see. And so a couple of those big things are obviously Daredevil appears in episode 8, which was huge. They show off the new suit that we got a glimpse of a few episodes prior.
Right.
And then obviously we had Leapfrog, who's a ridiculous character who they made even more ridiculous somehow in this show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they made him the bad guy, which is cool.
What is the background in the comics for Leapfrog?
It's basically the same thing. It's just a crime-fighting dude who wears a frog suit. And he's like...
No powers?
I don't think so. Not originally. I think it was... He may have gotten powers like later, or they may have changed his background story later, but I don't think he had powers originally. I think it was kind of like he was rich and put on a suit and decided to fight crime type deal, but it was like always bad.
So Batman.
Yeah, like a really dumb Batman. Like just awful.
Sorry, I had to. Okay, so thank you for that. What other reveals did they have?
Oh, God. So they do a couple of little calls or whatever about like Wolverine towards the end of the episode. Like her friend jumps out with like makeup brushes in the, 3 in each hand, like there were claws, and she makes the, sink noise or whatever. The, like Wolverine's claws are coming out. And
I didn't catch that. Okay.
Yeah, so they make some more references and that kind of stuff in the show. We get like a little bit of a backstory on like what Matt Murdock's been up to since their Daredevil TV show ended. He talks a little bit about how, he's given Jennifer a pep talk, and he's talking about how like, you have a, unique opportunity to help people as a superhero and as an attorney, right? And when the law fails them, you can seek justice as a superhero, which is what he does.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't catch that. You're right.
He makes several references as to why he's the lead superhero. He's been doing this a long time. He knows what he's doing. And like Jennifer like calls him out towards the end of the episode where they're going after Leapfrog. And she said, you wanted to spend 30 minutes picking these guys off like one by one. And he was like, what were you going to do? She's like, Hulk smash, like just go in there and get them. And he uses some legal terminology to say that she caused excessive property damage. And
right.
You know what I mean? Like he calls her out. It's like this tension, this, sexual tension kind of back and forth throughout the entire episode. Jennifer actually makes a reference or a fourth wall break where she's like, am I the only one feeling this?
Right.
But yeah, so obviously that ends up with that steamy makeout session where they're making out all the way through.
Jesus. 8 episodes, 3 dudes. She's either having a hot girl summer, she's in her whole phase. Good for you. You do you. Don't look for a relationship because you ain't going to get one behaving like this. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, man. They might try and like make the Daredevil thing work. Although Matt Murdock's pretty skanky too. He slept around quite a bit.
Yeah, he is. Hey, what happened to his like Minnesotan paralegal girl? I forgot what happened at the end of Daredevil. How come they're not together?
Jessica.
Sure.
Yeah, it's got a J thing going on. I'm not sure. I
actually know a Jessica from Minnesota. That's the funny part.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
She looks the same.
Sorry, Jessica from Minnesota.
Okay. So, yeah, what happened to her?
Uh,
She ran off with the Punisher to save him or what?
I don't remember exactly. I've seen so many episodes of everything. I don't remember exactly how that ended. But yeah, she was quite very much in love with Frank Castle. She was doing everything she could to protect him and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I saw some funny video the other day about how right after that episode dropped about how Matt Murdock says that he's like a really good attorney in Spider-Man, this last installment of Spider-Man No Way Home. He makes a reference, whatever, to how he's a really good attorney. And then it just shows like clips of him making out with and tapping like every girl he's run into on every show. Right.
Yeah, it's true. I will say it kind of wounded my heart seeing Daredevil do the walk of shame. It's like, come on, man.
I thought that was hilarious.
It was hilarious. It was funny. It's a true part of life. But man, if that doesn't, isn't he like the man with no fear? Everybody's afraid of doing that. I don't care who you are. He wouldn't have been that nonchalant with it.
He didn't even like try and like take a back alley. No. It was like down Main Street, right? It was like so
where people walk their dogs, it's a pretty communal area where kids are probably playing.
But anyway, now we might have a better idea or understanding as to why he was late for court that one day. So, I mean, maybe he's having hot guy summer or something.
So, from the legal aspect, the consult that Jen did in was it episode? No, it was episode 8 where she's doing it with Leapfrog. She threw out a lot of legal terminology. I'm not going to sit here and break it all down. They stretched a little bit, but the majority of it, she claimed product defect, negligence, strict liability, and I felt like there was one other, breach of warranty. All of that are in that wheelhouse with all legitimate terminology. I don't know if you could get them for all of that, and you definitely, in my opinion, because I do have some experience in torts, which is basically when somebody sues somebody else for damages. Generally, broad brushes, you would not be able to make that confident of a determination that you're going to win this case based on a little bit of consult. There would have been a lot more research, like what are the duties the soon-to-be defendant would have toward the person who was injured, whether they actually violated that, breached that duty. And so she would have looked over contracts and the warranties and all that stuff. So they kind of steamrolled that. What I did like was Matt Murdock's presentation in court where he just immediately tore her down. Yeah, they took some liberties with it, but that is the typical exchange you would have in a motion, much more so than the motion of summary judgment they did earlier in the show. So I thought it was a really good scene.
Yeah, and they also revealed during Matt Murdock's speech that they had repealed the Sokovia Accords, which makes the fighting between the Avengers and that kind of stuff in Civil War absolutely useless. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have fighting for nothing.
Well, did they repeal it after the Thanos? I mean, I'm confused with the timeline, so I would assume they repealed the Sokovia Accords after the Thanos snap.
Yeah. I mean, like, assumed
and Iron Man and all that.
We're assuming that's when it took place. We don't have like an exact date, but we do know that it has been repealed at this point. So nobody's in hiding and that kind of stuff anymore, and there's no documenting superheroes and that kind of stuff, trying to keep track of them. So but that was like an important thing. And then towards the end of the episode, after the one night stand with Matt Murdock, Jennifer has another fourth wall break. There were quite a few in this episode. There were several. It was like every few minutes she was breaking the fourth wall, but she makes a comment about how the pacing's weird because she's supposed to be going to this event, this gala where she'll be presented with an award for like best female attorney or something like that. And she makes a comment about how the pacing seems off, like things could go south from here. Maybe it's like she makes a reference to a Red Hulk.
Oh, does she?
Which would be awesome. Unfortunately, the actor who plays General Ross passed away last year, I believe.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah. I saw a YouTuber's predictions video, and they said that they have somebody in mind who is a pretty big hitter to replace him. And if they do, then they'll bring out the Red Hulk. I forgot which actor it was. So it sounds like they still might be considering that.
They could. I mean, they've replaced a couple of actors so far in the cinematic universe. Obviously, we got Rhodey pretty early.
Right.
Was replaced. And then, obviously, they changed the Hulk from Edward Norton.
Right.
So they've replaced a couple of characters, but it's not like them to do that consistently. And I think they may be able to get away with using a completely CGI Red Hulk.
Okay.
And use his face or his likeness for Red Hulk, because I don't believe Red Hulk changes back into human form.
I understand what you're saying.
So I don't know. That's just a theory. They could go a lot of places with it. But she makes a reference to Red Hulk, and then she makes another reference, and then she obviously there's the Wolverine reference there as well. Then it cuts straight to the gala where they start presenting the award for Female Attorney of the Year, and there are several nominations. And I think everybody was under the assumption that it's just going to be one, but then all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 female attorneys on stage, which
great.
kind of that's
that was.
I mean, it waters down the award.
Yep. It was lip service, clearly.
Yeah. And then Intelligentsia breaks into the presentation, which I think everybody was expecting something like that to happen. That wasn't like a huge surprise. They start showing all of her personal information. None of it's really damning until they start showing the sex video between her and good guy Josh, right?
In front of their parents.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
Her family, her colleagues, everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was pretty dirty. Obviously, she becomes enraged. She sees that there are people there who look suspicious, wearing masks and that kind of stuff, making the comments. They refer to her as a slut. She just snaps, loses it, breaks through a wall, trying to kill this guy or at least, capture him. And she's met with law enforcement everywhere, which is kind of like a setup.
Oh, I didn't take it that way. Okay, yeah. I thought it was just convenient. But yeah, if you're putting it in the lens of a setup, that's a good call. I would agree with that. So, I also found it interesting that I think it was Mallory Brooke, her colleague, tried to warn her before she hulked out. Don't do it, because she could just see the ramifications of what was going to happen if she hulked out.
Right.
Well, I really like what they're doing with her character.
Yeah.
Mallory Brooks, that is. Yeah, that was... I mean, it was expected that a Hulk is going to Hulk out, right? So I wasn't really shocked at that scene. I knew Intelligentsia was coming after her. They meaning the directors, the show, did a good job of my interest is piqued. I wonder where they're going to take this, because there's no way you wrap this thing up in one show. There's just no way. Between the Wakandan spear and Todd and Intelligentsia, if they wrap this up in one show, it better be an hour and a half, because otherwise you're doing a disservice to this show. One part I didn't like about the episode, talking about Todd and the spear, it felt like a pandering again for a woke progressive agenda, where they said, "Oh, I bought this spear from Wakanda. It was stolen by colonizers." I was like, come on, man. No one's colonizing Wakanda. What are you doing? You're just trying to bring in facts to somehow do a whistle call to that type of mindset. If you want to do it in some places, but there it was just silly. It was absolutely silly and unnecessary. It really pumped the brakes on the show for me. You just stick with the through line that this guy's creepy and he's not treating her well. He's not treating her like a professional. He's treating her, like a woman he wants to date, and leave it there. Like, why you slap on that extra nonsense? So that's my one gripe about the show.
If you remember from the Black Panther movie, the Wakandans didn't really have the viewpoint of like their colonizers, right? It was Killmonger who really tried to preach that thought process. So for them to say that the Wakandans wanted it back because it was stolen by colonizers means that at least someone from the Wakanda nation has taken that ideology and kept it alive. And so that might play into the storyline some way, somehow, into the new Wakanda Forever. That's yet to be seen. Also, $1 million for that spear seems like a very low
Cheap.
amount.
Yeah, very cheap.
It's the rarest metal on Earth, and
Yeah.
you got it for $1 million. Like, I doubt it.
Yeah. So quick question, because I don't know anything about the Wakandan comic book lore. Were there colonizers? Am I totally off there? Because I would just think with advanced technology and them having the best of everything, I don't think anybody, and the fact that it was hidden, was Wakanda ever colonized? Was that an aspect of their nation that I got wrong and that actually was a basis for a lot of things from their history?
No, and the reference for like the colonizers were, if you go back to the Black Panther movie, they were actually talking about like their brothers and sisters across the globe,
Sure.
who had been treated poorly, or whatever,
Absolutely.
slavery or whatever.
Yeah.
So they were talking in reference to those individuals, not the people who lived in Wakanda. So the colonizers were the people who lived outside of Wakanda, and yeah, so it wasn't. Actually, Killmonger makes a slam to T'Challa, where he says that you're here safe from all these things with all this advanced technology, and our brothers and sisters are out here dying and they're fighting a war and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, they were never talking about colonizers of Wakanda.
So the question would be, how did they get this damn spear from Wakanda? Just lazy writing, or some stealth mission, or some war where it was just spoils of war?
Well, they do what do they call them? Hold on one second. It's the Dora Milaje. I don't want to say it wrong.
Oh, the Special Fighting Force?
Yeah. Right, yeah. So it's the Dora Milaje is the army, the female army from Wakanda. And we actually see in Falcon Winter Soldier, they send the Dora Milaje out on these missions. So it could have been that like one of the members of the Dora Milaje like fell during one of the missions and lost their spear.
Got it.
Or was killed, So that could explain it. I don't know exactly where they would have gotten it from, but I do know that they sent them out on like these missions because we saw them before on a couple of different occasions now. But
okay, so in a nutshell, Marvel, do better. You could have introduced that spear in a better way.
Yeah, and it was definitely worth way more money.
Exactly, yeah. So what do you think is going to happen now?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. So I don't know that Intelligentsia is like that as the group or whatever is going to be like. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I have no idea. They could go a lot of different directions. So I do know that this was like a setup to make her look bad. I just don't know why.
One thing. I got to interrupt you. I do know one thing that's going to happen for sure.
Okay.
Jen's probably going to sleep with another guy.
I don't think she'll have enough time.
You really? Wow. Maybe if she implemented your short duration activity protocol, she might be able to.
Yeah, take notes, Jen.
They're gonna fit sexy time, or at least hint to it somewhere in there. There's gonna be some,
Had she followed my protocol, right? She wouldn't be in this mess to begin with, because she would have been awake when Josh was trying to steal her blood.
That is true. Maybe she'll at least have a goodbye kiss with Daredevil. That would be nice. But okay, sorry to take this off the rails yet again. Back to your point. What is one of the avenues you think they'll be taking?
I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to do by making her look bad, if they already have like her DNA, unless they're going to introduce a new character to like take her down.
Question. I'm not trying to be gross or foul. How did they get her DNA again? Off her hairbrush, or because he spent the night with her?
I don't know, but they sent him out with vibranium needle. So
he poked her sometime while she was asleep, and it didn't wake her up, and he drew her blood? So to me, that was, I didn't want to assume dirty, but this is science here, people. This is not Raider's demented mind. There's science. You can get it from hair strands, you can get it from skin cultures, you can get it from body fluids. They did not explain that one. If he used a needle on her and she didn't wake up, all right, now he drugged her, and now this is a whole different episode of Minor Picks. But I don't think that's what happened. So I wish they would explain that a little bit more than the Wakandan spear being taken by colonizer. I think the needle was a little bit more important. That's just my opinion.
The amount of sedatives he would have had to have introduced into her system, because like she has, the increased metabolism. So
but only when She-Hulk.
Yeah, but I'm sure that for Wham Bam Thank You
Don't go there.
220 or whatever, she was like probably hulked out.
Then Josh is a bigger stud than I thought. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's move off of this. Anyway, so lazy writing, strike 2. What is the avenue? God, where this is going to get banned. And we're going to lose followers. What is the avenue you think they're going to take it?
I think you're going to introduce a new character in episode 9. I'm just not sure the reasoning yet for making Jen look bad publicly, because that's what they were going for. That's what they were.
Sure.
They were trying to shame her and then get her to react, and they got her to react.
Sure.
Then they had, her facing down like a bunch of officers and that kind of stuff. And she pretty much ruined her career on stage as she was getting an award for being Female Attorney of the Year.
I don't know if she ruined her career. I know in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they think that can ruin an attorney's career. As an attorney, all right, let me just explain this is not completely accurate, but we attorneys have to take like ethic classes and live by an ethic code of conduct. It's called professional responsibility, and they have an entire manual of the things you should and shouldn't do. And as a reminder in your state bar monthly magazine, they have a section of all the things that attorneys got reprimanded for as a warning or a cautionary tale of what you shouldn't do. Smashing up a bunch of TVs and staring down cops, that's minor to what some of these savages are doing out there with their clients and their funds. So I think that would have been fine. I remember I shouldn't say a colleague, a guy who was trying to pass the bar. I think he was on his 5th DUI, and he had his daddy call in a favor, and I think he was still allowed to sit for the bar. So it's, So my point, I don't know if she ruined her career. She might, have lost her job. Sure. But I don't think she would have gotten disbarred or anything for that. Not for that.
Okay. Well, I mean, she basically like made a fool of herself by like hulking out and destroying property and that kind of stuff. And then they humiliated her in front of all of her colleagues and that kind of stuff. So maybe not ruined her career, but definitely made her look bad, right? For at least a short while.
That got her in trouble with the law. That's not a good thing. And now I'm sure they're going to say we can't have a violent, rampaging Hulk. It's almost like I know the Abomination was on parole, so it's a little bit, much higher stakes and much different scenario. But it's the same kind of argument as we can't have this ticking time bomb walking around amongst us. So I think she put herself in that category.
Right. And they'll probably use the fact that she caused severe property damage and like attacked one of her former clients and apparently like one of their biggest customers' sons. Yeah. I think that's probably going to set up, with this included, they're going to look at her as a liability, and they may do something like that, like get her off the law scene for a little bit, because this has been about her being an attorney. So they may try and take her character in a different direction by like pretty much saying like you can no longer do your job. Right?
So that's almost forcing her, in my opinion, into the superhero role. And now, all right, you have no alternatives. Why don't you check out the Avengers? I think that's an easy transition if they want to do it that way. I wouldn't be mad at that.
I was just going to say, I don't know exactly how they'll do it, how they'll wrap it up. That seems like the best route to continue her character. Now, the other reference she does make earlier in the show when she's talking about, could there be a Hulk but red? The other thing that she made a comment about was how were they going to fridge her character?
I didn't catch that. I don't recall that at all.
So, yeah, she said that it could take a twist. Could there be a surprise twist where there's another Hulk but red, or are they just going to fridge me completely in her fourth wall break right before the gala?
Huh? Maybe I totally missed that one. Wasn't paying attention. So, question for you, IEG: is there any confirmation, any hint of there being a second season of She-Hulk?
Not yet.
Okay.
And there's also a lot of like blank titles slated for Phase 6.
Okay.
And there's been a couple of different transitory type comments about different characters. Like we have the Hulk who's gone back, into space, and we've got some other characters doing some side things. We've got some new shows and new movies and stuff coming up. So I think it's more or less going to move her into the cinematic universe from a show to a movie. I think they could do another season, but
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah.
All right. So final question to you. And it's the main one that we're discussing with this show now. Is She-Hulk Attorney at Law woke now that you've been 1 through 8 episodes?
Overall, I'd say no. I mean, like, there's a level of wokeness that everyone has to maintain now, right?
So on a
otherwise you're going to get canceled.
On a 10-point must system. Well, no, that's not a 10-point must system. That means you have to either give it a 9 or 8. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm going to go like low level here. I'm going to say like a 4.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's, a 4 to an adjustable 4 to a 5. I still think it's normal. I think episodes 7 and 8 were probably the least amount. There's still elements. I'm still not happy about the Wakandan spear, but IEG finds that really funny. So, yeah, I just can't let it go like a little terrier.
Chihuahua.
Oh, here we go. Oh, now I got a new nickname for you for your short duration episodes. I'm gonna call you.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna call you Speedy Gonzalez. How you like it?
That works.
I'm allowed.
Like I said, it's a race. I'm in it to win it, babe.
So I think She-Hulk Attorney at Law, I like the show. I think it's acceptable. It does have annoying parts. It does give a female's perspective, which you got to take on the chin because we have shows that give the male perspective. And the female should take that one on the chin as well. But what I will say is that is a very myopic, limited view of this show. I watched some review from a female YouTuber a couple days ago, and she was reviewing all of Phase 4. And I think without a doubt, there's enough evidence to build a case where Phase 4 is definitely 7 to 8 level wokeness, where you have every show female centric. You have every movie or show where they dumb down the male characters, where every show there's a bad guy. It's a hetero white male. It's like, oh, okay, come on. It can't be every time. It's back to the Jen dating only bad guys. Come on, not every time. I like your show. I want to watch. You're being a jerk now. Whether you do it from Love of Thunder, whether you do it from The Eternals, whether you do it, it's just too much Marvel. Tone it, take it down a notch. You're starting to piss me off. She-Hulk, perfectly fine. You did well. All of Phase 4, you can shove it because it's too much. So that would be my new viewpoint. Fan of She-Hulk, but if you zoom out to all of Phase 4, too much. No mas, please. No mas.
I think that this show balances it well.
Agreed.
Obviously, like I said, like you have to maintain some level of wokeness so that you don't get destroyed or blacklisted, right? Like it's kind of forced on everyone now. So,
well, we are testing that theory here.
Yeah. We don't have enough listeners yet.
Yeah,
for them
pretty
to
much.
know.
Yeah, I already got my warning. I'm sure I'll be getting another one next week. Okay. Well, I will not push you to engage in that conversation further. I will throw myself on the sword and flip people off when it comes. So thank you guys for joining us for this episode. I'll try to, well, there's going to be a lot of editing. I'm not going to lie. There might be some jokes you guys are going to miss, but I will push this out as quickly as possible. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And if you are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. All right, signing out. Bye. That's it. That's our show. Join IEG and myself for part 3 of a rapid fire episode where we'll be discussing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Guys, please make sure to check our show notes since it might get a little confusing since we're starting to move episodes around. Please do us a favor and like, subscribe, share this podcast so we can get some traction. Once I get around to it, check us out on our social. Combative Nerds on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the deal. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next episode.